Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with Mark Cox. He is the managing partner at In the Funnel. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm just great, James. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have you today, Mark. We were just talking offline, and I'm really excited about the topic we're going to cover today. We're going to be talking about value propositions, and I want to set a little bit of context for our listeners. Mark, could you tell us what is In the Funnel? What are you and your team up to over there?
Oh, great. So In the Funnel, James, is a group of sales coaches and consultants that fundamentally help B2B sales teams dramatically improve performance. So customers engage us, James, when revenue growth is stagnated, or the B2B sales team is underperforming, or even when they're trying to recalibrate the sales and go-to-market plan for the upcoming year.
Okay.
We're a little bit unique and different in our space, James, because for two reasons. Everybody on our team, number one, has run a very material sales organization in their recent past.
Okay.
So we're actually experienced practitioners. We're not just theorists or teachers.
Got it.
And then the second main reason we're unique and different in our space today is we have a process and a methodology for recalibrating somebody's sales and go-to-market plan that we've executed, let's call it 35 times in the last couple of years. So we have a methodology.
Could you talk to us about what that methodology is?
Oh, sure. So we think any company out there today, James, that has a core competency in anything, whether it's technology, whether it's manufacturing, whether you're a services business, you may even be a real estate agent. You have a core capability. And we think when you're building your sales and go-to-market plan, which we call the Sales Playbook, you've only got to be good at 5 things to convert that capability into money in your corporate bank account.
Okay.
Those 5 things are actually serial and linear.
Okay.
So you have to think through these things in order. And that's why I was so excited actually to be on the show today, because the first one is value proposition. So at the core, who are you? What do you do? How does what you do tie to a desired business outcome of one of your customers? And then third, what's unique and different about you guys given their other options in the marketplace? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a sec.
Yeah.
The second part of the playbook is the target market. So once I understand my value proposition, specifically, who am I taking it to, whether it's by business problem, industries, size and scale of business, geography. We've got to get very intentional about the target market we focus on, because most companies, James, are actually paralyzed by the paradox of choice. They think they can sell to everybody, and instead they sell to nobody. So our belief is you got to focus and specialize. The third component of our sales playbook, many people would call it marketing. We just call it awareness campaigns from the sales perspective. So in the best case scenario, my website, my Twitter account, conferences, speaking engagements, so any other social media. The best case scenario, those things will drive a warm lead into my business. But in the worst case scenario, they become a credibility shield when I do the next stage of the process, which is intelligent prospecting or demand generation.
Okay.
That's the 4th step of the playbook.
Got it.
Finally, if we do those 4 things well, James, then presumably we're going to get a qualified sales opportunity to work on. And the 5th step of the playbook, everything surrounds top-tier sales execution. So this is things like understanding your sales process or the steps to complete a sale for your business, understanding what you're going to do in that next sales meeting. So doing things like call planning. We're big on that old adage, James, that says when preparation meets opportunity, good things happen.
Yeah.
But when we get engaged with sales teams, most of the time, the salespeople spend more time traveling to a sales call than they do planning for it. And we're not big on that. So those are the 5 steps of our sales playbook: value proposition, target market, awareness campaigns, demand generation, and sales execution.
Okay, so we're going to focus the rest of this interview, Mark, on the value proposition.
Right.
And so to kind of rewind a bit, you were explaining it before, it really has 3 legs to it. And so I want to hone in on each one of those legs as it relates to the value prop. And this first one is around your core capability. Can you dive in a little bit deeper on this idea?
Right, perfect. So what do you do? And again, the concept of the value proposition is trying to package this in. I'm not keen on the term elevator pitch, but how do we articulate our value proposition briefly and concisely? So what is it your business does? And what I'd call out to technologists is to stay away from technogab. So, Excel is not a relational database. That was easy for me to say. It's actually an automated spreadsheet program. Yeah. So tell people what you do. That's the first leg of the stool. The second key thing, though, is how does what you do tie to a desired business outcome of a customer? Or kind of said another way, James, what problem do you solve for customers?
Yep. When you were talking to me about this offline, Mark, you said that a lot of, this seems like common sense, but so many people get caught up in the product itself, when in reality, your customers don't care about the product. They care about the business outcome that they're trying to achieve.
Right. What are you going to do for me? So what problem do you solve? And by the way, that's why all of this value proposition is so critical. It's the first part of your whole go-to-market program, because you really shouldn't have a website unless you understand what your value proposition is to your specific target market first.
Got it.
And so technologists love deep technology. Oftentimes you ask somebody at a cocktail party, tell me about your business. And the first thing they say is, we've been in business for 15 years. I'm going to tell you nobody cares today. So, with all due respect, and that's, wonderful that you've been able to run a business. But, too often, James, my wife and I are at cocktail parties, and I'll meet someone new and I'm so interested in what they do, I ask them.
Yeah.
And I'll come back to my wife and she'll say, hey, what does that guy do? And I'll say, I have no idea. Because they've talked for 15 minutes and all I heard was been in business 20 years and we're in Toronto or we're in Chicago.
Yeah.
So what's that core capability? So, for someone like a technology firm, what is it you do at the core so somebody can understand it? But very quickly, the second stool is, what problem are you going to solve for me? Or what desired business outcome are you going to provide? We believe that there's only 3 desired business outcomes of every company at any point in time.
Okay. What are those?
They want to increase revenue.
Yep.
They want to decrease cost or expense. And they want to decrease risk.
Got it.
So depending who you are and what you do, you've got to focus in. All roads within a company will lead to those 3 desired business outcomes. And so you've got to understand which one you're getting to. But here's the kicker, James, and this is where people have a really tough time. It's the third leg of the stool. What's unique and different about your company given the client's other options in the marketplace?
And when we were talking offline, you said that this is really where you see a lot of companies dropping the ball.
You're right. Yeah, you really, and by the way, there's nothing but examples of this if you go scoping out the websites. So take a look at what they say about their company first. There's an individual called Janie Smith who's got a great book called Relevant Selling. And she's pretty good about, helping folks articulate their value proposition. And she suggests your point of differentiation has to focus on 3 things. First of all, it has to be relevant. So we've been in business 15 years is only relevant to give you a credibility shield that you're not going to go out of business tomorrow morning. But many companies don't care. Many of your customers are not going to care. The difference between being in business 3 years and 15 years are irrelevant. Secondly, a point of differentiation should be measurable. It should be a fact. So how many services businesses out there say, we have great customer service? That really isn't a fact. And your customer can't actually prove that before engaging you. So saying that is a waste of time. And we call those motherhood and apple pie statements, James. We try and stay away from those. The third thing I think that's important in terms of your competitive differentiation or what makes you unique is it needs to be relative to the competition. So if you say, well, we've been in business 15 years, and they'll say, well, I just spoke to your competitor and they've been in business 20. It's not really anything that makes your company unique.
Yeah. Okay. So could you share maybe some, or just kind of walk us through in the funnels value proposition, or if there's, a client that you've worked with that has a compelling value proposition, that somebody that's doing this right, just so our listeners can hear some examples of, what this sounds like.
Great question. So I would have tried to do that at the beginning of this thing, where you said, well, tell us about the company.
Yeah.
I positioned it by saying clients engage us when
Got it.
revenue growth is stagnated or the sales team's underperforming. So the desired business outcome in the funnel provides is we improve revenue growth, which is one of the desired business outcomes. When I spoke to our core capability, you said, who are we? I said, we're a group of sales coaches and consultants that work with sales teams to improve performance. Now, I don't get into, at that point of a conversation, James, I didn't say, well, we've got a model and a methodology, and we get into the 5 tiers of your go-to-market plan, and we coach sales teams and sales meetings too detailed. We just help improve the performance of the sales team. And when I did actually call out specifically, I like phrasing it this way, we are unique and different in our marketplace because. So we're not a training company. We're actually an experience company. I said everybody on our team has got deep experience recently running material sales organizations. The reason I call that out is because the core of sales management is inspecting, coaching, and motivating. Today, too many people just inspect. But if you can't coach somebody and motivate them, you're not going to be any good. So that's how we try to position the value prop for in the funnel. It perhaps isn't perfect, but that's our attempt.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I think you did. I mean, just kind of knowing from our offline conversation, it was very interesting for me to hear you explain in the funnel using kind of the exact framework that we had just talked about offline. So I understood it. I wanted to make sure that our listeners can kind of have you walk through each piece of that and kind of the meticulous elements of why you said what you said at the top of the interview. I think it's really important for them to understand that, because I agree. I look at, we're actively prospecting, trying to find guests on our show, and we're looking at inbound leads that are coming in. And so I'm looking at all the websites all the time. And it's crazy to me how hard it is to tell what people do by looking at this thing that they've built, that they've created themselves to represent them. And I have no idea what they do. There's something in the cloud. And I love that you've talked about this topic, Mark. Is there anything else around value proposition that you think our listeners should know before I let you go today? Sure.
The last thought I might throw out there, James, is I actually think this is pretty hard. So we try and simplify it by using tools and models. But for us, we got our team in a room for a couple of days. And we, for those 3 legs of the stool, we come up with 10 or 12 different bullets that we could actually put in there. And the hard work is actually reducing it and editing it. And again, we're not the smartest tools in the shed, James. So we like to look to smart people to coach us here. And I go back to the Albert Einstein adage that says, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough.
That's good.
And good principle for value prop.
Yeah. No, I love it. Mark, if there's somebody listening, they want to connect with you more on this stuff, or they want to learn more about In the Funnel, what's the best way for them to go about doing both of those things?
First of all, thank you, James. www.inthefunnel.com.
Okay.
www.inthefunnel.com. And we have a link there to a library of resources. We call it the ITF Academy. That'll have videos and blogs and tools to help you build your value proposition if you're interested. And the second thing, James, is if you'd like to reach out to me personally, go to send me an email at info@inthefunnel.com. And please follow us on Twitter, and that's at Mark Cox Sales. So MarkCoxSales. That's our Twitter account.
Love it. Awesome, Mark. Well, this has been fantastic, man. I really appreciate your time, and I'm really excited to share this with our listeners.
Hey, James, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you, and great show.
If you've been getting value from this podcast, you can help us reach more people by reviewing the show on iTunes. Here's how you can leave a review in less than a minute. Open your podcast app and tap the search icon in the bottom right corner. Type in B2B Growth, then select our show. Once you're there, tap the Reviews tab and tell us what you think of the show. These reviews help us out a ton.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.